After 4 years of long, hard work, Alex Perez is finally back in the win column. The 25-8 prospect has had a title shot, and since that title shot against Deiveson Figueiredo, which he lost in just over a minute, it's been nothing but cancellations, pullouts, and losses for Alex Perez. In addition to that, Bogdan Guskov also got a magnificent win over Ryan Spawn at UFC Vegas 91. Last but not least, Ariana Dos Santos lost to Karine Silva, and man, it was kind of disappointing on Lipski's part. All that and more on today's episode. We're going to start right at the top with Alex Perez. So when you look at Alex Perez's record on like Tapology or what have you, and any of the websites that show this whole amount of pullouts that he had, you see all these pullouts on Alex Perez record. Oh, it's his fault. And to an extent, yes, he has had his share of problems, but they haven't all been his. And I want to set that record straight first. So Matheus Nicolau, he lost to Muhammad Mokaev, but in his pullout game, which is incredibly strong, by the way, from the looks of it, he missed weight, had medical issues against Manel Kape. Kai Kara France pulled out of the fight before that. Amir Albazi, Perez withdrew, so there he goes. He was scheduled to fight Askarov. Askarov withdrew. He was scheduled to fight Matt Schnell, and Perez missed weight terribly. He was supposed to fight Matt Schnell before that, and Schnell withdrew because of medical concerns. Alright, so next they rescheduled the bout with Matt Schnell. Apparently they really wanted Matt Schnell to fight Alex Perez. Askarov had an injury. Matt Schnell again, Perez withdrew. So, as you can see, it's kind of a 50-50 blend on Alex Perez pulling out. He's not this major pullout merchant. Now, he does pull out of a lot of fights, but in the last couple, like within just over a month's time, we have Alex Perez fighting not once, but twice. So if you look back to his fight with Muhammad Mokaev there, he fought a very different type of fighter, and that's really kind of what made the difference here. So Mokaev, obviously, he's just wrestling heavy. He's going to sit on top of you, and he's going to ride the round out. And that's what he did against Alex Perez. Now, what we did see out of Alex Perez there, that he is still a very good fighter. He managed to, a couple times he would take down Mokaev, if I'm remembering correctly. But I do remember him being able to get up from Muhammad Mokaev, who was such a good wrestler, and to kind of start bringing the fight to him. He obviously lost that fight, but he's also been out of the game for forever. So think about it. He had that grappling match with Roman Bravo Young, which is crazy he went to a draw with. But he fought Pantoja. He lost that via rear naked choke in round 1. And he fought Figueiredo. Lost guillotine in round 1. That was 2020 and 2022. Before that, he was on a really good run. He beat Jose Torres, who's always a good win on your record. Lost to Benavidez in round 1. Beat Mark De La Rosa, Jordan Espinoza, and Jussier Formiga, and that's what got him to the title shot. It looks like he loses every big fight that he's supposed to be in. Benavidez is one of them. Deiveson Figueiredo, Alexandre Pantoja. Mokaev, that wasn't a first-round knockout, but Mokaev's not knocking anybody out, right? So this fight with Nicolau really represented what the future of Alex Perez would be. Is it going to be just a downward trajectory for here, or is he still on the up and up? And that fight, I felt like the Mokaev fight showed that he was still on the up and up. But that fight with Matheus Nicolau really showed me that Alex Perez is in a good spot. Now, Alex Perez is 32 years old, which is basically ancient for a flyweight. But this win puts him right in line where he needs to be. It's actually kind of interesting. Perez is ranked 8th, and Muhammad Mokaev is number 7, and then you got Matheus Nicolau is number 5. There's a very real scenario which Alex Perez jumps Muhammad Mokaev, who just beat him. That would be weird. But the UFC rankings are like this. You got Brendan Royval, Brendan Moreno, Amir Albazi, Kai Kara France, Matheus Nicolau, Manel Kape, Muhammad Mokaev, and Alex Perez, obviously with Pantoja at the top. So his performance was actually very, very good. So in the early going of the round, of the first round, you see a lot of feeling out from both Matheus Nicolau and Alex Perez. The two kind of were just feeling each other out. Perez was like, hey, I'm going to stick out some jabs to see how you react, and I'm also trying to gauge the distance. And he gauged the distance well. One thing I did notice from Matheus Nicolau, though, he wasn't kicking the leg as much as he normally does in the first round. Now, he did come out in the second round and start to kick the leg, which really got Perez going, but he really was kind of content with being backed up by Alex Perez, and that kind of hurt him. You let Perez settle in. Obviously, he's been out for forever, and he hasn't had a win since 2020. So, what are we doing here? What are we trying to do? Obviously, I know he was ready to fight Manel Kape. That was the original fight before Kape had to pull out because Manel Kape is the new Alex Perez. But he let Alex Perez kind of get into a groove because he couldn't get into a groove against Muhammad Mokaev. He couldn't get into a groove not making fights, and we saw him lost to Figueiredo and Pantoja, right? But allowing Alex Perez to get going and to kind of feel everything out, we got this really cool, he threw the combo where he came up top and the body lead hook, and then he came up top with the hook at the end of that combination. He threw like 4 or 5 punches in the same combination. The very first big exchange that they had, you'll remember, it was like bop, 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 bop. It was like a video game character or something, kind of just throwing stuff here. But that's really where, Matheus Nicolau had a hard time was with the changing of levels of Alex Perez's strikes. And we saw that like against the fence, Perez is like, I'm going to hit the body. And he consistently hit the body in the entire fight, not just at the beginning. And we also saw the jab from Alex Perez. He would miss it. I'm checking my notes here. Sorry. He would throw, and he grabs the back of Matheus Nicolau's head, which is great. And he fires in this uppercut, and you want to do that. That's the same thing that Rob Font caught Adrian Yanez with. You got a squarely mobile opponent who's tough to catch. How do you slow them down? You grab them. You grab them so they can't move anymore, right? That's what we see a lot of the times with like wrestlers and dynamic strikers. It's like the perfect game plan against Wonderboy. You put him against the fence. The guy is so mobile and so hard to grab a hold of. MVP, that's something I wanted to see from Kevin Holland. And you grab a hold of him, you push him against the fence. You can't move against the fence if you're being held. They have to fight out of that. And another way to do that is, especially if you're a striker and you got some heavier hands like Alex Perez does, you jab out, grab the back of their head, fire in an uppercut. It's the old bare knuckle FC special, which Mike Perry won last night, by the way. You just smash their head in. That's it. And he got one of those off in the first round. Come out the second round, and it's a different story, but it's still Alex Perez winning the fight. So you got Alex Perez getting his legs chopped down. He's so heavy on that front foot that he really does struggle with low kicks, and he's always kind of struggled with that. In fact, I think Pantoja lit him up with it. Figgy didn't, and then he finished Formiga with the low kick. So you think you know about him, but this is MMA, and things don't always have to make sense. Anyways, so more of the whole changing levels for Alex Perez. He's hitting the body, then he's coming up top. He's coming up top, then he's hitting the body. He's really trying to overload the circuitry of Matheus Nicolau, and it worked. There was one really cool moment where he gets into the pocket with Nicolau, who's not going to grapple. He's looking for something to hurt him with, and Nicolau throws, I think, this right hook, and Perez dips down low and comes up top with a left hook. Left hook. I was like, ooh, that was really cool. And that really kind of hurt Matheus Nicolau. After that, he presses him back to the fence where Nicolau was so just content on being that I was like, okay, well, what we're going to do here. And he catches him over the top. Yeah, he throws one of those longer extended combinations to the body, to the head, to the body, to the head uppercut, and he comes over the top, boom, with a right hand, and just slumps him. He was just dead on the ground. I was like, oh my gosh, I jumped up. I was like, oh, I felt like Joe Rogan for a second. But good win for Alex Perez. Now, what is next for Alex Perez? After so much time out of the sport, like I said, he hasn't had a win since 2020, which it's not fair. He did fight Pantoja, and he also lost to Benavidez in that time. And he also hadn't pulled out of all these fights. Just so I set the record straight. I had to set the record straight on that. He has a lot of options. Flyweight's changed a lot since he's been around, right? Figueiredo's no longer in the division, so that rematch is gone. But you got Brandon Royval, who just lost to Pantoja, and he's coming off of a win in his last fight. And Raw Dog is one of the more fun fighters in the division, so seeing him and Alex Perez fight would be fun. He just beat Brandon Moreno via split decision, too. And the only reason I'm not bringing up Brandon Moreno as for what's next for Alex Perez is because I feel like Brandon Moreno, he did say he wants to take a year off after that split decision loss to Royval, and that was just back in February. So I can't in a good heart call for Brandon Moreno to fight Alex Perez. The next one I like is Amir Albazi now. Amir Albazi, he's good. I'm not quite sold on him yet, though. He's got the split decision win over Kai French, which I was like, okay, maybe. Zumagulov he beat. Francisco Figueiredo, the wish value version of Davison Figueiredo, his brother, and then the split decision over Kai France and Alessandro Costa. I'm not sold on Amir Albazi being a top contender. I think he just got an opportunistic win at an opportunistic time against Kai France. But Alex Perez would be a good test for him. So if we got Pantoja here fighting Steve Erceg this week coming up, he'll fight that for the title. He'll have some time off. That'll have time for him to, take some time off, see what the division does. If Perez and Albazi can fight in a title eliminator, great. If Royval and Alex Perez fight for a title eliminator, great. But Royval and Albazi might be the ones booked for that title eliminator, which leaves Kai France at number 4. If we're assuming that he'll be number 6, Alex Perez that is, and Kai France is the third option I like for him. That would be actually a real fun fight too. All 3 good fights for Alex Perez. He has some good options going forward on things he can possibly do that, just kind of getting in the groove of things, because he kind of got thrown into that title fight at kind of a weird time, and it wasn't representative of what he could do. Then again, he's lost every important fight he's been in, so maybe it is representative of what he can do. The co-main event was Anthony Smith 2.0. Just kidding. Bogdan Guskov knocking out Ryan Spahn. Ryan Spahn's been in the division for a good long time, and he's kind of one of those guys that's like, he's good, but he'll never really win a title or win anything meaningful, and I think that just proved it. So, Ryan Spahn has been in the UFC since, I think, Contender Series Season 1. Let's see, when did he join? Yeah, Season 1 in 2018 when he had that 26-second knockout. Since then, he's beaten some good names. He's beat Nogueira, which was painful. He beat Alvey by split decision. Lost to Johnny Walker, lost to Anthony Smith. Now he's 3 on the trot. He actually might be gone. Nikita Krylov, Anthony Smith beat him again, and then now Bogdan Guskov. Bogdan Guskov, he is a kickboxing guy. He's got really good hands, and a lot of people are talking about he's like Alex Pereira. I'm like, I don't see it. Career path is similar, I guess, but he has way more MMA experience. Guskov obviously lost to Volkan Ozdemir via rear naked choke, which is a bad look, but that was his UFC debut. It might have been short notice. Was that short notice? Let's see. Guskov. Where's Bogdan Guskov? Yeah, he was supposed to fight Murazakov. Okay, so yeah, that was a short notice fight. I'll give him that. But he's beat Zach Palga and Ryan Spahn now, both by knockout. So early in the fight, it was very clear what Ryan Spahn wanted to do to Bogdan Guskov. He wanted to get the fight to the ground where he felt like he had the best chance of winning. That's a good game plan. That's a very good game plan. And in the first round, he did. He caught Guskov kind of overcommitting on some punches, and he managed to come in and get in on a hip and get the takedown. Guskov kept kicking, and Ryan Spahn kept catching it and trying to take him down. He couldn't cut kick. He couldn't lift the leg high enough. He just kind of kept it aside. You want to lift the leg as high as you can. It's not like he's a flyweight. He's a light heavyweight. You can topple him real easy, especially if you lift his leg high. I guarantee you he doesn't have that kind of balance on one leg. Just lift it up. Lift it up. That's all you got to do. It's probably easier it sounds, or harder than it sounds, but But anyway, so second round was a completely different round. So Ryan Spahn dominates the first round. I'm not going to say 10-8, but he won the first round. Just by grappling and holding the back. And Guskov just kind of fought him off and didn't put himself in a terrible spot. kind of like Alex Perez. So maybe there are some comparisons there. Not quite with the power, though. Second round was completely different. Bogdan Guskov starts coming forward. Spawn's like, wait a minute, what do I do with this forward pressure? Because Guskov was like, I don't know what to do. Guskov was fighting different. He was more straight punches, quick punches, not really trying to overcommit himself like he did in the first round that got him taken down. So he goes in there, and it's the first thing he did was a jab to a right cross, bam, bam, and Ryan Spawn was kind of like buzzed a little bit there. There was a good moment in that second round where Ryan Spawn kind of he double jabbed, so the first two jabs were kind of a feint, and Bogdan Guskov always exits with his hands down, and that right cross landed and snapped his head. So he looked a little hurt there, but he wasn't. He managed to survive the round, or survive the strike, because he didn't make it out of this round. And then Guskov comes in with a rear uppercut that really just kind of rocks Ryan Spawn and puts him down. Like he's out of it. And it was just this weird point where Ryan Spawn's sitting on his butt and he's leaning forward, and Bogdan Guskov's like, I don't know how to strike from here. He kind of like, he pushed him over for a second, then he started punching him once he got on top. But like, he didn't just start punching immediately. He probably didn't want to hit the back of the head, but most of the time we'll see guys just start wailing, even if they're in that half turtle position. So good win for Bogdan Guskov. It's light heavyweight, so it's not going to be hard for him to find his way to the top of the division. He will be ranked next, which is kind of cool, I guess. Roundtree's being booked right now. Johnny Walker's on a loss. I'd like the Johnny Walker fight, maybe, or Alexander Rakic. Just give him a really cool test. They got some options out there for him. Anthony Smith is begging to come back too, so why not? And then let's see what else was on this card. Ariane Lipski, actually now she's Ariane Dos Santos. Karine Silva was the third fight on the card here, and it was honestly kind of a boring fight. We know Ariane Lipski likes to she's the queen of violence is what she calls herself, so she likes to go out there and get knockouts, but she's a competent grappler, and she showed that against Karine Silva. That said, Karine Silva's a better grappler than she is competent, so she kind of just got in there, made sure she got the takedown, and when Lipski got into a better position where Karine Silva was like, oh, I'm going to lose, she would get up, or she would reverse and then get up. Yeah, Silva will be ranked higher, and she'll be in higher regard, sure. That's all fine and dandy. I just don't see her. Let's see, what weight class was that? Silva was, where's the card at? There it is, 125. Okay, so yeah, she might be able to make her a flyweight run, because flyweight's a bit of flux right now. You got some really good people at the top, but you're looking at like so Ariane was ranked 12. And she was 13. So yeah, she'll jump Tracy Cortez and Viviana Rujao, but like you'll see her maybe fight Natalia Silva, Caitlin Shamanera, or Amanda Ribas next. So that'd be really, really an interesting fight, I guess. Jonata Denise beat Austin Lane. No surprise, because Austin Lane lost to what's his name? Greg Hardy. David Onama and Jonathan Pierce had a really fun fight. You should check that out. Uros Medic knocked out Tim Means, which is wild. Victor Henry just beat the brakes off of Hani Yaha. Austin Hubbard back in the win column. Dontel Mays, Ketlin Souza, Chris Padilla. So some good fights on this card. I mean, it wasn't the highest level of events that we've seen in the UFC. I don't know. I mean, this might be UFC 301 hangover or 300 hangover. This week, everybody's critical about 301. I don't think 301's as bad as everybody says. I mean, I think it's not the best card, especially coming off of UFC 300. But, I mean, it's hard to follow up the man, per se. So, yeah, I get it. Aldo's back on this card. You got Pantoja fighting on this card versus Steve Erceg. And I think a lot of the problems come with like Steve Erceg getting the title shot. Let me pull up this card real quick, see what else is on here. But look, I think a lot of that is like, oh, Erceg. And he's coming off of that nice KO where he went to the body and came up top. Speaking of Alex Perez, right? Alex Perez might get the loser of this, actually, against Erceg. That actually be interesting. But you got that. Jonathan Martinez and Aldo. Anthony Smith is fighting Vitor Petrino, Michelle Pereira, Io Pereira. Cal Barrios back against Carl Craig. That's fun. Jack Shore. Kovacevic is back. William Gomez is decent. Malarkey. That's full of malarkey. Ishmael Bonfim. It's an okay card, I guess. Mahmoud Muradov was supposed to fight Michelle Pereira. That would have been fun, but yeah. So guys, check out my new video I got here about history of boxing exhibitions, simulations, and computer fights. It's out now, and you can check it out. Talk about, we skip the whole Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson type things, and we go into more like Jack Dempsey fighting 5, George Foreman fighting 5, Muhammad Ali fighting a Pro Bowler, and a whole bunch of Muhammad Ali versus Rocky Marciano. Bet you didn't know that happened.